Okay, so in today's Daily Cyber, I'm going to be talking about compromises. So let's hack at it. Okay, so I'm really excited about this episode to talk about compromises and just some of the things that we need to know about how do we deal with mentally and emotionally with a compromise when something like this happens. But first I want to get into, thank you so much for everyone that's been watching my podcast up to this point. This is episode 6. I really like the comments and the feedback and just the recommendations and ideas. Thank you so much. I want to thank Chris Bellio from Time Code Productions for helping me fix some of the video and audio issues that I was having in the first couple episodes. He was able to help me troubleshoot some issues. So if you ever need, if you ever have any questions when it comes to audio or video, check out Time Code Productions, and I'm sure Chris will be able to help you. My name is Brandon Krieger. I'm a cybersecurity professional, sharing my journey on cybersecurity from all different kind of angles of cybersecurity, from the introduction to what cybersecurity is all about, certifications, training, mindset, and all the way to kind of advanced level of cybersecurity with technology solutions. And as I go through, I'm contacting people to get interviews of other experts and professionals that I would love to interview just to ask questions. And there's anyone that you love me to reach out to, let me know, comment below. So let's get into it. Let's talk about compromises. So this week, or actually yesterday, was kind of hectic for me because there was a few things that happened for myself. First and foremost, one of my hard drives died. So it started to act up. I was starting to see warning messages and these errors, and just, it was one of those things where you're like, oh my God, not now. Like, I'm getting a roll of things. So when we look at security and redundancies and making sure that everything's set up, one thing is we look at, like, our systems, our technology, right? We make sure that we have redundancy. So if you have failover, that if something happens, then you just kind of pick up from the other solution. Well, fortunately, I had another backup. I had actually 2 backups. So I was able to restore and not worry about the data itself. It was actually just the physical hardware that I'm looking at troubleshooting right now. So it's kind of a breach in that, or not just, it's kind of an inconvenience, I'll call it. It's not technically a compromise. But what happened was, while I was doing that, I got a notification, text notification from my credit card fraud department, letting me know that my credit card was compromised. So this is pretty common. I remember talking to, I think it was the RCMP a few years back, and they were saying that it was roughly the estimated breach of credit cards is around 60%. So if you own a credit card, there's a 60% chance that your credit card is going to be compromised. And that was a couple years ago. I know for me, my compromise was really someone, I think it was from Dubai, was trying to buy plane tickets with my credit card. And the credit card company or solution has AI technology, which basically monitors kind of all your spending. And they noticed that this was irregular from my spending habits. So they immediately locked down my credit card, sent me an alert, let me know that what was going on. And then I called them, and then we had to go through about an hour conversation of validating my identity, who I was, going through the payment history, and then going through what's going to happen with my credit card. So they canceled my credit card, and now I have to go through the exercise of getting a new credit card. It takes 5 to 10 business days, and then I have to go, and I have, like most people, you have companies that you work with that take payments, so you have to reestablish your credit card with them, and the credit card number, expiry date, and so forth, right? So it's a little inconvenient, but at least I know I'm not out any money. Now, a little tip, security trick I tell people: don't have a massive limit on your credit card. The reason why that is that if you get compromised and you have a lower limit on your credit card, it's more likely they're going to get caught quickly in the fraud department, or they're not going to be able to buy the things they're going to try to buy. So for myself, my credit card's less than $500 and sometimes even lower. And the reason why I do that is because if they buy tickets like that, I think it was $1,300 US. They were trying to buy an airplane or a flight ticket or flight. And what happened was they got flagged because my regular spending is very low, right? It's kind of these small little things. And when I have to buy something bigger, I make arrangements and I kind of go through that process. I don't actually use my credit card. So with that in mind, if you do the same thing, if and when your credit card gets compromised, then what happens is it's not really able to get much. Now, don't get me wrong. I know people have higher, things that they want to buy and so forth, but I would be more flexible in the sense of if you need to buy something, a big expenditure, say it's an appliance, something like that, and you want to buy it on your credit card, increase your limit, for that purchase and then bring it back down. Right. I know it's a little inconvenient, but it keeps you more secure. And then I know if you have good credit and you're a good client of credit card companies, they do increase your limits. So it can go up from like 500 to 1,500 to 5,000 to 10,000. You just can keep going, right? Just because you're paying off your credit card, you're a good client. So they want to reward you. That reward necessarily is not always good. Right? And talking for security, you want to keep your limits low, and then it helps protect you if anything happens, right? An inconvenience of $500 a call in or whatever that may be, it's not that big of a deal. And if you keep those low limits, then what happens is they really can't spend much. And a lot of times when they try to buy bigger things, when they try to compromise, it stops them and says, yeah, you don't have the limit, you don't have the resources, and it's a frustration for them. So it's kind of a win-win on that side. So what should you think? What should you feel when you get compromised? Now, most people, when you hear about compromise and you read articles and all that, they talk about the impact, the technology, what's the potential resolution or what should be the fix. But no one ever talks about how are people feeling? Like what's going on with the emotion? And the reason why I bring that up is because there's a lot of times I deal with clients and you can tell, like, first and foremost, they go through frustration. Like, what the hell? What's going on? This is so frustrating. It's time consuming. I don't have time for this. So there's an acceptable level of frustration because you don't know what's happened. You don't know who did it. Now your systems are down. Your identity has been compromised, whatever that may be. And you need to figure out, what's going on, look at remediation, how to fix it. And then how long is it going to take? What's the turnaround time? And, how long are you going to be down for or be affected? So there's a level of frustration that you need to go through. You need to go get it out. You need to kind of be disappointed, upset, frustrated, and you need to get that out. Next is you need to kind of go through some sort of control. And what happens is when you get compromised, and this is my opinion, all right, when someone gets compromised, you don't know who it is. So you feel violated, but you can't point it out. It's not like, that person broke into my house or that person broke in my car. When someone hacks your computer, you don't know who it is. You don't know if it's from someone next door or someone from overseas or whatever that may be. Or it could be a bot, could be malware. You don't know. And you feel kind of violated that you can't point that out. So you really need to take back control. And how to do that, in my opinion, is you start to kind of identify what happened, what can you do to resolve it, and how, in a checklist of, this, and this. So for example, when you look at a credit card breach, first and foremost, you get frustrated, kind of let it out. Then you call your credit card company and say, look, I've been breached. This is that's happened. Cancel my credit card. Provide me a new one. Because I need to pay X, Y, and Z, and then make a list of all the companies that you work with that you have to pay them. Go reset your passwords for all these companies, make them, and then follow best practices of password policies. Especially if you work for a company or if you're this is an individual, it doesn't matter. Make all these accounts separate username and passwords, complex. I recommend 20 characters or more. Make sure you have two-factor authentication set up. If they don't have two-factor authentication, send them an email saying, please implement two-factor authentication for myself, and really look at making it more secure. and then do that and just check that off, make sure everything's up to date. And then now you have control, you've reestablished your security, right? And you just do your best. Now, I know some people after that, they do that, they feel good. And then the other side, people kind of feel a little bit more panic or anxious. Like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know, if I should go online. And I've talked to a psychotherapist that I know, and they're saying right now, with the internet and the level of breaches and compromises and cyberbullying and cyber stalking, they're seeing more clients because of internet, concerns and issues, and it's increasing. I think the challenge is that, the younger generations now looking for their identity online. You've got YouTubers, you've got Instagram influencers, you've got TikTok now. All these people are looking for their identity online. They post a content, be it a video, especially most of these sites I was talking about. They post a video, they look at likes, comments, am I getting engagement? And then once they start getting it, they're like, oh my God, look at me. I'm successful. I'm significant. And then from that, if something happens, the account gets locked out, the account gets hacked, they start losing engagement, also now their identity. So just no different from being compromised and actually being hacked to losing that has the same type of psychological influence or effect on the individual being affected. So if you start seeing that, again, from being hacked and being compromised to the influence, you need to speak to someone. You need to kind of talk to someone and just kind of get it out. Maybe even speak to a professional if it's starting to come to the point where you're really feeling bothered. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just making sure that you can take control back into your situation, what's going on. And it's hard because when you look at, I'm a security, professional, I'm working in the industry, and even me being compromised as small as just my credit card, it's one of those things where you're kind of like, there's got to be a better way. Like, why is this still happening? Right. And something that I brought up to the credit card company, and I'd love to get your opinion and see what you think about this. So when you go through the process, what happens is they're looking at where the charge is going through. So for mine, they were looking at the airline in Dubai, and they were stopping that payment. And I asked them, okay, so hold on, that's great, you blocked that. But what about notifying, trying to find out where the compromise came from, right? Because it had to come from one of the companies I've been working with that I provided my credit card, because other than that, that's the only time I use it, right? So is there a way for the bank or the credit card company to notify each of those companies that, hey, we have a client of ours that has been compromised, right? They use your product or service. Can you confirm that you have not been breached and there's your security is in place? And I think that is a proactive way of looking at their security, because if a credit card company can use AI technology to do that, to look through a client's profile, go through that, notify each of those companies in the last 30 days that they've worked with, notify them saying, look, hey, you know what? A client of ours has been breached, right? Can you please check your systems? If that starts to go into a kind of a process there, if they start seeing that the same companies are coming up, that it's myself and it's Jane and it's John and it's Christy and all these other people that have been compromised, and they're using the same company, right? And all of a sudden start noticing that, there's a correlation that company XYZ comes up on all their profiles. Now they can narrow down and maybe blacklist company X, Y, and Z until they have a clear communication with them saying, hey, have you been breached? Is there something going on with your security? We just want to make sure, just because we have several clients that use your service that have been compromised, right, on their credit card. And I think that would be a very great proactive solution to help to reduce the amount of credit cards that are compromised. Now, I'm not saying it's going to eliminate, but at least it reduces the ones that are being breached on the actual company side. Don't get me wrong, there's still other ways of doing it. There's malware that someone's got, hack someone's email. There's social engineering, when someone calls you and just says, hey, I'm from X, Y, and Z. We've seen it with the IRS scam and CRA scam. You owe $5,000. There's a warrant out for your arrest if you don't pay this, yada, 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 right? So just thinking out loud, and I'd love to hear your feedback on the bank setting up the credit card company setting up some sort of solution like that to be able to help users feel more secure. So yeah, comment below. Let me know what you think about that. I think that's something that as users, we should be asking for the banks. And I know it's a little bit of a larger project for the credit card companies to do. But I think once they do it, it would save them a lot of time and money, right? Because then it reduced the actual number of breaches potentially, and the number of payouts or things they have to write off, because of these compromises. And I think like I said, I was talking to the RCP officer, and I think they were saying the average breach is around $5,000 to $10,000 that the credit cards have to pay out for each of the breaches, right? Or write off. So, imagine saving that over hundreds, if not thousands of credit card users. So just something to think about, and really want to talk about that, because I think it's important for us to look at solutions and look at how we're going to be able to protect, ourselves. The companies are going to be able to protect us, how, the big, banks and organizations that are taking our information are looking at stepping up their security to just make sure that there's proactive things that are being done. So that's it for today's video. I just wanted to kind of talk about that, about just what to think and what to feel if you get breached, and just kind of that process, and just looking at different types of technologies and solutions potentially to look at how to help us from different types of scenarios. And one today was just talking about credit cards. So I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to DailyCyber.ca, subscribe either for the podcast or on YouTube, just so you can get the reminders of the new podcasts that are coming out. I'm doing this in podcast format as well, and the reason that is so people that can listen to it on the road and at the gym, just in the morning in their office, and just have it playing, just so you can kind of listen to it. I think that was it for today. Oh, if you know anyone that you'd like me to interview, comment below. I'm reaching out to people right now actively to interview experts in the field, just to provide more value and learn more about different technologies and solutions. So I'm contacting value-added resellers that I've met, also manufacturers. So I'm really reaching out just to get a depth of knowledge to share with you guys of different technologies, different solutions in cybersecurity, and just share with you guys what's going on in the industry. So that's it for today's video. Don't forget, software is hackable, being connected is vulnerable. I'll see you next Daily Cyber.